Welcome to our 21 Days of Wellness Chats. We are here today with Alex Leanne Carter talking about the power of habits. Habits, as we all know, are a core part of who we are, and various studies have shown that 40 to 50% of what we do every day is a product of a habit. So, with that, Alex, I'd like to ask you, how do our habits play a role in our overall well being?
Well, Andrew, thanks for having me. And that's a great question to start talking about habits. So the interesting thing about habits, we probably know we've got our good habits and we've got our bad habits. And habits are something that develops over time when we consistently repeat doing the same thing. And what happens in our brain, it actually gets stored in our subconscious brain, which, and we start to do them naturally without even realizing it. And that's the really cool thing about habits, especially if you develop really positive habits, is that they just become natural without you thinking of them. However, on the flip side, if you happen to develop habits that you're maybe not as favorable to having, it's being recognizing that of those habits that you've kind of built, and then identifying them, and then being able to think about, what can I replace that habit with, in forms of making that positive habit, and having to work to be able to replace that. So the really great thing is, over time, we don't have to think about it, but being aware of what are the good habits and what are the maybe less favorable habits that we have, plays a big role in our wellness and just how we live our day-to-day lives.
Interesting. Yes. And you know what? There are so many books on how long does it take to build a habit and so on and so forth. But as an expert, Alex, I'd like to ask you, how long does it take to truly build a habit? And what are some of the habits we can build over this holiday season that is going to serve us well going into the new year?
So the first part of that question, we always hear it takes 21 days to build a habit. And there is some truth to that, but there's also a myth to that. So it does take us 21 days to start to build the foundation of that habit if you're able to consistently develop that habit over 21 days. But in order to make that habit automatic and natural, it actually takes, the magic number is like the 66 so 66 days. So I kind of like to use that as the ballpark. And what happens is, at 21 days, most likely you're trying to develop a new habit that is trying to replace most likely a habit that you had before. When we get to that with 21 days in our brain, what happens is there's a bit of resistance that happens. And so at 21 days, if you happen to miss a day or two, you're going to go back to day one, essentially, because you haven't actually developed what we have, these highways in our brains. That highway hasn't been, like, the construction of that highway hasn't been completed. And the construction of the old highway hasn't been taken away. So that's why it really takes that 66 days. And you'll hear a lot of variety. I mean, some might say 67, some might say 69. So it's kind of that, it's a bit of a sweet spot, and it really depends as well what kind of habit it is, right? There's something about, one little habit, or if it's a really big habit, so it can take a little bit more time. From my own personal experience, looking at the brain science and just naturally developing more habits, I find that 3-month mark is that kind of sweet spot once you get to around 3 months, and then it becomes stored in your subconscious brain, and then you're doing it without even realizing anymore. So that's that with the habits. And in terms of really good habits, I think, to develop over the holidays, we have been, it's been a very unique year, right? It's been a very different year for us all. I think one really important thing to maybe start to implement a little bit over the holidays is kind of taking some tech breaks. We've been so connected to our technology and our devices. I've heard a lot of people talking about, the Zoom exhaustion. So I think just consciously taking needed rest and technology breaks throughout your day. I'm actually going to be doing a bit of a digital detox this weekend, where you just kind of power down for the weekend and just be able to really get outside and just really, take that break from technology. So I think that's a really big, important thing. I think if those out there have not started a gratitude journal, I think that's something really, really important to start over the holidays and come into the new year. Again, we've had such a really interesting year, and there are so many things that are completely out of our control right now, and being able to at least start your day with a bit of gratitude of the things that you are thankful for, and recognizing the things that you do have control over and that you have choices to make, I think is really, really important, and really helps as well with our brain develop that gratitude piece and being aware of the things that we are in control of around us and that do bring us joy, versus constantly getting overwhelmed or getting with the news and all these updates, I mean, we now have more new protocols put in place, right, which can create this, kind of frustration. So being able to kind of help manage the things that are really happening out of our control right now, by being, grateful. And sometimes I like to think about like trying to integrate a little bit of joy in your day. So thinking about the things that you love to do. And I think the other part is just trying to, get outside, get the fresh air piece, and really find ways to kind of slow down over the holidays. And, I like to say, slowing down to speed up. If we give ourselves time to rest over the holidays, maybe disconnect, be grateful for what we can be grateful for, I think that will really help us recharge our batteries and start off 2021 on, really positive foot to really crush the new year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really great advice, slowing down to speed up. I think that's really important because we really were going at such a high speed, and then all of a sudden we had to slow down, and now we're like, oh, what do we do? So that is such great advice. And I was reading this book from James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits, and he says that the habits you repeat, there you go, the habits you repeat, this wasn't planned, by the way, okay? The habits you repeat or you don't repeat every day largely determine your health, wealth, and happiness. And I think that is so important. And Alex, you have provided us such great information, little pieces of golden nuggets that are so important for us to incorporate, for us to have an amazing holiday season, and then go into this new year healthy and strong and that much more relaxed. So thank you for joining us. And to all our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for more episodes. And please do subscribe to our channels. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.